I did not miss seeing Liverpool in title races. My blood pressure in that final 30 minutes of the game was so incredibly high that could not have been healthy for any human being. And I'm sure many Liverpool fans can agree with me. That was a very tough watch in the second half. Liverpool literally did not create anything against Wolves in that second half, and Arne Slot's main aim was to make sure that they don't concede and they're able to see out that lead until the end of the game. The crucial thing is though that Liverpool are now 7 points clear. They have a game against Aston Villa where they can go 10 points clear before Arsenal even play their game, and that can be so important in just reducing the morale in the Arsenal team, who have already lost so many players to injury. And as long as we can keep that gap as big as possible and more games keep going and we get closer to the end of the season, Arsenal's morale will continue to drop. But in this video, I will look to break down exactly how Liverpool dominated that first half, how Wolves were able to fight back in the second half, and what this actually means for the title race. Stay tuned until the end because I'm going to explain exactly why this win was more than just 3 points for this Liverpool team. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts on the game down below, and subscribe for more. Let's start with the first point, and that is Arne Slot's tactical switch in this game, and he has been doing it every single game. We all know about Arne Slot now that before every single game he's going to make 1 or 2 changes to the way Liverpool play to make sure they can make the opposition suffer, and that's exactly what he did against Wolves today. The main change that we saw Slot make was on that left hand side. Alexis Mac Allister was allowed to push up higher and he was able to play more towards the wide areas. So there was times where even though he's the left central midfielder, he was playing as a left midfielder. Diogo Jota, who was the striker today instead of Darwin Núñez, which actually surprised me but worked in Arne Slot's favour, is that he came deeper and he brought a centre back with him, and that allowed Luis Díaz, who was the left winger, to make intelligent runs, making sure he stretches Wolves' backline and getting in behind, and this worked perfectly for both of the goals Liverpool scored. Look at the penalty goal. So this is the second goal that Liverpool scored. Jota dragged his man deeper. Mac Allister had time in that left midfield role because he's gone out wide to play a pass, and he played the perfect pass in behind, which Luis Díaz just about got to after some smart attacking play. He got around the keeper and he got completely taken out. Mohamed Salah obviously finished that, and he made it his 23rd goal in the Premier League this season. We are witnessing an all-timer season. Even when he's having bad games, he's still getting a goal or he's still getting an assist, which is an absolutely incredible record that he's been going throughout this season. He could have had another as well if it wasn't given offside, which I really want to talk about because that offside was very tight. When you look at it and the still image, it was literally on the line, and yet VAR quickly said that it was offside and agreed with the decision on the pitch. But I genuinely believe if they took the lines out, they would have seen that was so tight, and it could have easily been a goal for Mohamed Salah if they just looked at it properly. But the finish that he produced for that goal as well was absolutely brilliant. However, getting back to the main point, even the first goal that Liverpool scored was from that similar style of play where we saw Diogo Jota showing off some great skill coming deeper, played it out to Luis Díaz out wide, and Luis Díaz played a brilliant pass to Mohamed Salah at the back post. Salah took a touch which was trying to get it to Jota, but it didn't actually get to Jota because it took a deflection off the Wolves defender. It came to Luis Díaz and he used whatever part of his body he could to get that ball into the net. But you see, we were seeing this left side rotation so much against Wolves, and they just couldn't handle it, even though they were trying to go man to man for Liverpool. Because Jota, Diaz and Mac Allister were fluidly moving around, they were able to get a comfortable 2-0 lead. And talking about Mac Allister, he was absolutely brilliant again, and he was crucial in this victory. I just can't stop talking about how good he is because Liverpool fans don't appreciate how good he actually is. His high IQ allows Slot to use him in so many different ways. We saw him as the left midfielder today. There's times we see him as the central midfielder, defensive midfielder, attacking midfielder. It doesn't matter what type of role you give Mac Allister. He's just so comfortable with the ball at his feet. He's so comfortable attacking spaces, understanding spaces, that you can play him any way you want and he will provide. Now let's talk about Luis Díaz. There's been a lot of criticism about Luis Díaz in recent months, and that's mainly because he's been playing as a false 9 striker even though he's used to playing as a left winger, and maybe we're just being a bit too harsh on him. For the past month, him playing as a centre forward just doesn't suit him. His back to goal play is very average, and when someone truly gets into him, it's hard for him to keep the ball. So you're going to see a lot of inconsistencies in his performances, because I thought he was excellent in that role against Bournemouth, and then he was shocking in that role in the last couple of games that we've seen him play that role. But today, playing as a left winger, he was more comfortable. His movements were sharper, he linked up well with his teammates, and he got on the score sheet, which is very important because he needs to get his numbers up. And even though he's matched his score sheet from last season, he hasn't really spread his goals around. You've seen him get 3 and 2. We need him to be consistent game in, game out, and if he can be consistent, then going up until the end of the season with Cody Gakpo, Diaz and Salah as a main 3, alongside Diogo Jota and Darwin Núñez, they have enough firepower there to pull them through into winning the league. But the main thing that I really want to see Luis Díaz improve on before the end of the season, and if we sell him in the summer, we sell him. But up until the end of the season, what I want to see him improve on is his creativity. He's quick, he's dangerous, his dribbling can be so good, but his passing is not good enough for him to actually cause issues. There was a couple of times where he's done an excellent dribble inside and he could have easily switched it to Salah, and he did do it once with the outside of the boot pass, but there were so many more opportunities that he could do that type of pass, or he could do a lofted cross into the back post, but he doesn't have that creativity to be able to do it. But either way, it was great to see him back in form, and it was great to see him actually producing something on the pitch for Arne Slot again. Moving on to Arne Slot, and this is something that's really impressed me so far from his time at Liverpool. One of the biggest criticisms I had for Arne Slot in that Everton game was his lack of game management, and the reason why I say that is because his game management throughout the season has been absolutely world class, and he's shown exactly why he deserves to be at Liverpool and why he's been one of the best coaches in the world. But in that Everton game, he brought on Diogo Jota, trying to score a goal, very hard to make it 3-1, make sure Liverpool win the game comfortably, when he could have put on Wataru Endo just to see out the game. But he changed that in this game today. He learned from his mistake. With Liverpool struggling in the second half, he brought on Wataru Endo into the midfield, and he took off Luis Díaz. So it's quite a defensive substitution with Szoboszlai going out wide and Wataru Endo going into the midfield. We saw Gravenberch tiring throughout the game, and I think the extra minutes that he's played this season, because if you look at his minutes in the previous seasons, he's really not played a lot. But when you see him this season and he's playing every 90 minutes, I think it's a little bit catching up to him, and we saw that when Cunha found space in the middle, he turned on his left foot and he smashed one into the bottom corner. It was an excellent goal from Cunha, but that all comes from that midfield being too open. As soon as Wataru Endo came on though, he was forcing Wolves to play out wide because he had that central midfield role covered. And then you have Gravenberch and Alexis Mac Allister alongside him. That middle becomes a lot stronger, which was very weak in that first half and even in the start of the second half. His impact on the pitch, especially Wataru Endo, was huge. I have to give him huge props. That's a proper professional, a model professional that a lot of fringe players in that Liverpool team can learn from. Every single time Wataru Endo has been asked to play on the pitch, he has given 100%. And even though you might say he's not good enough for an Arne Slot midfielder, the way he just puts himself on that pitch and works incredibly hard, makes sure he puts himself into every challenge, is so important when he comes on in the 60th, 70th minute to help Liverpool win the game. He won key ground duels to stop any of Wolves' attack. He drew fouls at the right time to relieve pressure. Even that one that we saw in the last minute, Andy Robertson, Wataru Endo knew all day long Andy Robertson is going to get taken out by Pedro Lima, but he was there this time to protect that so it couldn't become a dangerous situation. Pedro Lima fouls him, and in the last minute Liverpool win an important free kick to relieve pressure, and you could see all the Liverpool players coming up to him and congratulating him, because late in the game when you need someone to step up, that's exactly what you need your defensive players to do. Another player who deserves a lot of credit, and he's, you could say, a fringe player just like Wataru Endo, is Jarell Quansah. After the first game of the season where he got substituted in the 45th minute, he's really not had a lot of time, especially in the Premier League, and today was his first time in the calendar year coming on. And the reason he came on was quite weird, because in the first half Ibrahima Konate was actually playing well, but he was given a yellow card for pulling a player back, and he did that a couple of times. Then he done another this challenge that he done, the second one, was so stupid that if the referee gave him a yellow card he couldn't have complained about it. But I don't think personally it was a second yellow. Now he was on danger zone, and so Liverpool at halftime made the decision to take him off with 2-0 lead to put on Jarell Quansah, and he played a calm, controlled game. I was saying it on my Twitter when he came on that all we need him to do is the simple stuff correctly. Don't overcomplicate your game at centre back. His passing was 100% accurate. He didn't give any balls away for them to transition on us, and that's exactly what I wanted to see him. And there was a moment in the game where Wolves were attacking us. Matheus Cunha played a brilliant pass into the back post, and Wolves player was in a dangerous position, and Andy Robertson's positioning defensively sometimes is so weird. He literally kept everyone onside because he was so far behind the defensive line, and then Wolves had an opportunity and they crossed the ball into the box, and it felt like one of their strikers had a free hit into the net, and it was definitely going to be 2-2 at that point, and Jarell Quansah reacted instantly. He knew the danger was there, he counteracted it, and he got the ball out, and it was a brilliant tackle. And even Arne Slot after the game said Quansah is getting back to his pre-season form, exactly what he's been expected from him. And in these last 13-14 games, with Joe Gomez having a hamstring injury, which could keep him out for a prolonged period of time, that means we're one injury away from Konate or Van Dijk from seeing Jarell Quansah quite consistently in that centre-back role. And if he can keep playing like he did today in that second half, then I'm sure he will be trusted by Arne Slot and he will put in a shift. As long as he's not having to play every game and he's doing it in moments, he will put in a good enough shift that Liverpool can get all the way through to the title. Now, let's address the main elephant in the room. Why did Liverpool drop off so hard in that second half? In the first half, you could see we were still a little bit comfortable, a little bit complacent, but the second half, we fell off. The complacency showed. We knew it was 2-0 up and we tried to play a simple game to make sure that it just stays 2-0 and we're comfortable with this. But of course, you can't do that in the Premier League. Wolves were always going to come back. They were always going to push hard at one point, and Liverpool looked tired. That's the main reason I'm putting this down to. I'm saying it's fatigue, and because the game wasn't as important as the games that are coming up with Aston Villa and Manchester City, even though at the end of the day it's 3 points on the line. So this game is as important as any game that Liverpool have coming up. And we just had a physical game against Everton where we put a lot of trust into that game, we put a lot of energy into that game, and we ended up drawing the game. Cunha pulls one back. Wolves have 10 shots in a row. They're creating clear chances. That Alisson's having to make brilliant saves. There's that block by Quansah, and overall, Wolves were on top in that second half. Liverpool just needed to make sure they win this game. Title winners have a couple of games like this where they're not at their best, but they still get the 3 points at the end of the game. They make sure they do enough to make sure they get the 3 points, and that's exactly what Liverpool did. Now, with the game against Aston Villa coming up on Wednesday, I genuinely believe Arne Slot will need to rotate a little bit. Some of those players looked absolutely knackered when it hit the 70th, 80th minute. And we have Manchester City on the weekend, straight after the Aston Villa game. So I feel like we need to be able to rotate a little bit. So I can see Costa Tsimikas coming in for Andy Robertson. Trent got subbed off, so I think he'll start with Konate and Van Dijk. But then in the midfield, I expect Curtis Jones to come in. Up front, if Cody Gakpo's fit, he comes in. Darwin Núñez probably comes in. And that way, against Manchester City, we'll have a fully fledged squad that's ready to attack that game. But what does this victory actually mean for Liverpool? At the end of the day, Slot's tactics worked in the first half. We got the victory from that excellent first half. Diaz and Quansah stepped up with important performances. Endo's game management was excellent to seal the win. And even though the second half wasn't perfect, Liverpool got the job done. They got the 3 points to go 7 points clear. And after this game that Arsenal have against West Ham, they have a tough fixture list with Nottingham Forest, United and Chelsea. So if we can get to next weekend with a win against Villa and a win or draw against Manchester City, hopefully a win, then Arsenal will have the pressure on them, and then that morale will completely drop. Their focus will go more on the Champions League than the Premier League, because they'll understand now that Liverpool are 7 or 10 points clear that it's very difficult to come back, especially with the difficult games that they have coming. Hopefully we can make it 10 points clear against Aston Villa. Of course, that's not how football works. If it was as easy as that, Liverpool would have won the title already. But let's see what the boys have left for us. With just 13 games left, this title race is starting to get intense. It's becoming more difficult to see out games. It's becoming more difficult to watch Liverpool see out games. But do you think Liverpool can hold on and win the league by the end of the season? Let me know down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the Liverpool vs Wolves game, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know whenever I upload my content.